Join me, welcome Mr. Joseph Kabuleta Kiza. He's with us this evening as we get to find out a lot to do with his political business. Sir, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We met you in Jinja when you were there on your campaign trail, and that's the last time you featured on this program. How were the elections in your view as a candidate, generally, in a statement? How did you end it?
We ended it. Of course, the elections were very complicated. Remember, there was rules that applied to some people, rules that didn't apply to others. Remember, they used COVID as a means to despoil the whole process. So we had issues. You know, everywhere you go, you're followed by police. And even where you met me, when we were actually just at the hotel where I was staying, yes. As soon as my car would come out, the local police would be following me. And I'm supposed to be there, and this, according to the calendar. So it was, you know, the elections the way they are. So you go and even go to a place. Even on Sunday I went to a church. The police came and were around the church just to see you out of their place. And they were under instructions, of course. So it was a very despoiled direction. But the purpose of me entering was for people to know what I stand for, and to listen to my idea of what Uganda can be and should be, and our financial liberation message that was why I was there. And I'm glad that so many people learned about me and that message at that time. So in that regard, at least some success was achieved in spite of all the other problems.
That's where I was going. In as far as driving that message is concerned, out of 100, how much do you think you achieved?
In as far as driving that message was concerned, in lieu of all the other extenuating circumstances, yes, perhaps I achieved like 50%. Okay. And that is all in lieu of all the other circumstances. Now, if it was a normal election without all this COVID and all that and so on, and I achieved what I achieved, it would have been like maybe 5%. But then there were so many other things that had to be taken into account. You couldn't meet more than, at the start of the election, 70 people. Now imagine an election where you cannot meet more than 70 people. Then as the elections progressed, they increased to 200 people. But still, imagine you travel to a place and the maximum number of people you can meet is 200. And if there are more than 200, of course, sometimes there would be a bit slightly more. But if there are more than, then the police come in and then they start dispersing people and it gets ugly, and I didn't like that. So it was a difficult thing.
I've talked to people and they say if you want to be an MP in Uganda, you must save some 300 million to $1 billion. What is the picture of one to contest for president in Uganda? How expensive or cheap was it for you?
It's of course, every election...
To traverse 120-something districts.
I didn't, because we had 2 months.
Okay.
We had exactly 60 days, and we had to travel 146 districts. And of course, the person who makes the calendar that tight does it for a reason. For him, he has been going around the country, Operation World Creation. For him, he's flying in a chopper. You can't do 2 districts a day. And even if you did 2 districts a day, still, you would not complete the whole districts, you understand? You'd only do 120 districts out of 146. Now, because you spend a lot of time traveling, a lot of time in the car, and very little time doing what you're actually supposed to do, which is meeting people and campaigning and, you know, telling people what you're all about. So for him, he's traveling in a chopper. And so, my schedule was somehow near him. So I was seeing he's in Lango, then that same day he's in Karamoja, then the same day he's in Teso, because he has a chopper. Now, how can I move from Lira to Moroto and back to Soroti in a day? I can't. Even if that was all I was doing and I wasn't having to campaign, it's impossible. So, of course, the elections are put to give an advantage to somebody. But I moved as far as I could. At least I traveled every region, and that was important because some districts are too close to each other. For instance, you go to Lira, you don't have to, okay, you would love to go to Kole, but Kole is a small district, not far away from Lira. Even though the people work in Kole district, actually, most of them stay in Lira.
Yes.
So it's a district of its own, but now if you have 60 days to travel 146 districts, then, you know, if I go to Lira, it's probable that the people in Kole, you know, had me.
You can access them in a way.
One way or another. Or at least you call people from Kole to come and, you know, if they are your coordinators and so on. So it was difficult like that, but nothing that I didn't expect. So I went about it, and my message was
see,
heard.
this is not only you. I had a chance to talk to Dr. Besje. He was in the rest for 4 times. I talked to General Muntu. I talked to... You all say, we expected this,
Yes.
but you still come to this race.
Yeah.
Why?
Because
You all say, we expect the drama, we expect not to be allowed to access here and there, but you still come to this race. What pushes you to come to something you know it's already bumpy?
because, like, I mean, what choice do you have? So if you know that an exam is difficult, what do? You don't sit it. There's only one guaranteed
If
way.
you have an alternative.
No, there is none. That's the point. If you have to pass the exam, you have to sit it. And it's the only way. It's a difficult exam, I'll sit it. Maybe I'll pass. But I know it's bumpy. That's, I mean, there are things which you cannot run away from. And you just have to get them over with. And that's what this is one of them. But people enter races for different reasons. And people measure their success at different levels.
Basing on the reasons why they entered the race.
Basing on that. And at different, levels. I'll give you an example from, let's say, football. Now, when the Premier League starts, there are clubs which say we want to win the league. And if they don't win the league, they can even fire the manager. Okay? Because they set that as their standard.
Yes.
Then
That's the target for going into the race.
Yes. Then the others who say if we finish 4th, that's success. Then the others who say if we don't get relegated, that's success. So now everyone has their level. Now, if I entered at a certain level of measuring my success, of me wanting to propagate my message to the people in 2021, the next race I'm entering with a totally different mindset. Now this time it's to win. That time I knew I didn't have a chance of winning. Okay? Even if it had been a free and fair election. But there was a reason I entered. And I was going to gauge my success only in lieu of my purpose of entry. Okay. So, and that's the only place I can give myself marks.
So after elections, where did the Kabuleta go?
He's here.
Where has he been?
There has not been any single...
You see, I'm asking like that ordinary Ugandan deep in Uganda.
Where
has Kabuleta been?
There has not been any single former presidential candidate that has been more active than Kabuleta, not even Museveni. Okay? None.
What do you mean by that?
No. I have moved across this country twice from 2021. Across all regions of the country twice from 2021.
Doing what?
I'm meeting people and still preparing my political platform. Has the president done that or any other candidate? No. I have, I was independent in 2021. I'm not going to be independent at the next election. I was closed in, really. Now I have a whole group of people across the country who are part of initially my political movement, now my political party. So there is not a single person who between January 14th rather, 2021, and to date who has done more in the political field than myself.
Maybe you have not followed them that much.
You tell them to me.
Compare.
No, you tell them to me. You who is a journalist and has followed them, tell me one whom you think has done that.
The NRM, because you're looking
No, I'm not talking about candidates. I'm not talking about parties. I'm talking about candidates.
The difference, you were an independent candidate.
Yes.
Your colleagues, a good number of them, were candidates sponsored by parties.
No, even then, sponsored by parties or not, tell me which candidate, sponsored by a party or not, has traveled across Uganda twice, even if you added Museveni with his chopper, in this 1 year after elections. None. And you know that's the truth. So, ask him, I've been around. I've been all over the place. I am as active now as I've ever been. Actually, I'm at the peak of my activity. And everything is moving on so smoothly. So, there is nobody who has even shaped the direction of discourse in the country like I have.
What kind of feedback do you get, have you drawn from wherever you have been? And as far as your endeavors are concerned?
Incredible feedback. When we started talking about Uganda's natural resources and how nobody is talking about them. We release a budget. It has money gotten from taxes, but nobody is talking about natural resources. Now, for the first time, the previous budget, because of Kabuleta, there was a small tax from minerals. Small tax. Now, there are periodic you know, statements from Bank of Uganda of how much money the country is earning from selling gold. That's all because of me. It was not there before. In all the 20-something years before I came and talked about our country's natural resources, it wasn't there. As well as a few other things, which now are going to become a source of concern for all the other people. Okay? And I'll just mention that because that's really the peak of our message. Because what kind of country can you have where not even Parliament is discussing the national resources? And it's not like you don't have them, they are there.
Parliament does. The other day they passed a bill.
Passing a bill is different from saying that
but what else would Parliament do apart from passing bills
appropriating
that regulate?
Parliament is supposed to say, if we are passing a budget, where is the money that because we can tell from international export and import that we exported $1.2 billion worth of gold. Where is it in this budget? So they task the Minister of Finance, who is giving them a draft budget, to tell us where is the gold we export reflected in this budget. Did they do that? No, they didn't. So now a budget is not just appropriating funds which they told you are there. You're also supposed to say there is a lot more funds that you're supposed to bring on this table for us to split, but you have not.
You have traveled the country as a candidate, and you say...
No, as a politician. Okay, as a candidate first.
Yes, and now as a politician, who is not a candidate, but who is selling. How would you describe Uganda with the view that you have gathered all over the country?
I would describe Uganda as a very rich country with very poor people. And
very
all
rich
that,
country
yes,
with very poor people.
Yes, and all that because of poor leadership. And the source of all problems in Africa is leadership. That is the genesis and of all the issues of Africa.
So I want you to connect the leadership and the poverty of the people. Plus again, there are three denominators that you have mentioned. The country is rich, people are poor, and the leadership on the side. How do you connect the three?
Oh, it's very connectable, because I'll give you an example. In places where there has been good leadership. Okay, I'll first give you one where there has been bad leadership. Angola. They discovered about 30 years ago, towards the end, coming into the new millennium, very huge deposits of gold, of diamonds, and of oil. And I'm talking huge deposits. Okay? They had a president, Dos Santos, who was like Museveni. His family in charge. His daughter was in charge of the national oil company. Okay? And in charge of the diamonds and what exactly like the same mindset as you have Museveni. And all these other, people in charge, in-laws and so on. Now, Angola had a GDP. At some stage, they were growing at 30% annually. GDP growth of 30%. Do you know what that means? I'll give you an example. If America grew 5%, okay, America is not a bad example because those countries grow small.
Yes.
But if any other country even managed 8%, they are doing very good.
That is true.
Angola was doing 30% for a period of like 3 years. It fell down to 24%.
Under Dos Santos.
Under Dos Santos.
Whom you say, bad leader.
Very terrible leader. No, the issue is not that.
Okay.
The issue is that the poverty, all the money was siphoned abroad. And you go to the city itself, very extreme poverty, very high crime rate. Because the money is not getting through to the people. It's not siphoning, it's not being siphoned down to the people.
Yes.
So it stops at the end. Now you go to a place like Luanda, which is the capital of Angola, and you can get a cup of cappuccino at $30. That's about 100,000 Uganda shillings, a cup of cappuccino. And there are people who are sitting there taking it and who have money. And just move across, less than 2 kilometers across, and there are people who do not even spend $30 in 6 months, who are in extreme poverty. Now that's what bad leadership does. Now it's not that there are no rich people, because all these resources here, there are people who are rich, but all of them were members of one family. So now when eventually he was taken off power, the country found that they were broke. After they had sold about $600 billion of just oil. $600 billion. They did, that is even without the diamonds and without even the gold. And yet they were poor. Now, do you know what? It's not a big population country.
Yes.
Now, if the country earned as much as that, and actually there was good leadership, man, those people would be very rich, all of them.
You want to say you see that in Uganda?
That's exactly where Uganda would be if we had those sort of resources under Museveni. That's why you see so many people coming out saying we don't want the oil pipeline to come in Museveni's regime. Because they know what is going to happen. It's going to benefit a few people. It's not going to benefit the country. Now, they will accuse them of being unpatriotic because they are fighting something which is going to benefit the country. But it is not. It's going to benefit one family. And that has been the story. Just like the gold has, just like the diamonds in Kapchorwa have, just like the iron ore in Chigezi has, just like everything. The crude oil which they have been selling from Bunyoro and even Kapchorwa and Pakwach, it's the exact same thing. You think they are not, there is harvest just like all the minerals in Karamoja? Are the Karamojong benefiting, or even Uganda for that matter? No, we are not. But is somebody benefiting? Yes, they are. And they are few. And that's what's going to happen now. You go, and then they will give you figures of economic growth, which are rosy. But they are not, nobody is seeing the money. It's nowhere. So, I mean, amidst the normal people, that's one country. I gave you Angola. Now, I see Uganda, if Museveni were to stay in power for long, and unfortunately, I mean, fortunately, he's not. Okay? But if he were to, okay? Of course, he's not. But if he were to, that's the exact same path we are going to take. And man, that would be sad. Where there is a lot of wealth and a lot of poverty. You drive now, those rich people who are buying cappuccinos at $30, they have to stay within a certain part of the city. They dare not drive their cars outside and go there. The minute you drive your car, you are carjacked. If you're lucky, you're killed. I mean, if you're lucky, you escape with your life. But they take your car and, and everything. Where people, even a mobile phone is a commodity worth killing somebody for. In a country which was at $600 billion, which had an economic growth of 30% per annum for a short period of like 3 years. So now, go across to Botswana. Botswana currently has a GDP per capita, or income per capita, of about closing in on $8,000.
US dollars.
US dollars. They are middle income, threatening upper middle income. Now, Uganda has less than 1,000.
Yes.
Although the fake statistics of Museveni say we're at 1,046, but that's our fake. Now, that means they are 8 times richer than us. And that's GDP per capita. Now, go to Botswana and see the kind of life. Go and see where their policemen stay. Their policemen stay in powerful buildings, which are almost like workers' house. Powerful flats, living very good life. Those are the policemen. And their soldiers, go and see where they stay. And then go and see the life that the common person is leading. And you see this is real development. Do you know why? Leadership. Because they had a leader, the first president after independence. I think they were blessed. Because you see in countries like ours, when you get somebody who thinks who is a good leader, you're lucky. Now, if you get a Museveni, then you're cast. Now, for them, they got somebody who actually set himself, a post-independence president, who set himself term limits. He ruled 1 term for just, I brought you to independence. Then he set term limits. And then he respected that. Actually, even he died before the end of his 2nd term of cancer. But then, because he had set it himself, they have had exchanges of leadership which are seamless, very comfortable, no fighting, nothing. And now the standard of living in Botswana is so high. You see? So high. And because of that now, that's what leadership does. Does Botswana have the resources of Angola? Not even 1/5 of them. They don't. If Botswana had the resources of Angola, they would be first world.
I've listened to you for some good minutes. And as if I've observed something that you opposition people are blamed for. Somebody says you get drunk of the name Museveni. When you listen to yourself, do you observe that?
Now, the thing is, if somebody has been, he's the president of the country, unfortunately. I mean, I would wish he wasn't. Nobody would talk about him. He would be just some insignificant man looking after his cattle. Who would be talking about him? Now, the point is, if somebody is a president, and if I want to his position, how can I be drunk? No, I'm not drunk on him. Like, he's the president of the country. We are what we are because of him. Because he has the reins of leadership. Now, as soon as he relinquishes the reins of leadership, he will not be on anybody's mouth. He will be totally insignificant, like he should be. Okay? So, what we are talking about is the office, not the man. The man, okay. Now the office is what we are interested in. Once he leaves us with the office and he goes, he can go anywhere. He can fly off the face of the earth if he wants, thereafter.
Okay. So you start a political party. Who gave you the idea, having passed through an election as an independent candidate? What came over you to think that now you need a party?
Of course, everybody, like the thing is, politics, a party is an organization that gives you the legal framework to go and do all your political activity. In the absence of a party, somebody asks, what are you doing? You're doing this as what? But you see, our laws give political parties a certain leverage.
Okay.
Now, even when those laws are not respected, but at least there is a law that covers your activities. Now, as a leader of a political party,
there is more space for you to act as a political
party.
There
is more legal space
than as an individual.
Yes. Now, the reality might be different, police and what and all that, whatever. But at least legally, there is more space for you to act as a political party. And now you can sue, you can be sued. Okay? You are an entity. Now, so if somebody was suing NEED, that would be different from suing me. But independent, you're just there. You're just you're an activist. Okay. So now this is a step. Now, if I could do the things I wanted to do as an independent, I would have did a political party. But now it is there. Now that's what it is, and that's a step forward. And then also there are people who believe in you when you go, and they want to know what are we joining. Okay. So if you do not have a political party, it becomes difficult for you to gather them under your wing, because you're gathering them under what? You see.
What is the gap between NEED and Kabuleta? Ugandan political parties have been blamed of being personal properties. Yes, you will find the FDC being blamed of being Besigye. The NRM is being blamed of being Museveni. Many people today look at NUP as Bobby Wine. What is the gap? Is there a gap between Kabuleta and NEED? Can we have NEED without Kabuleta?
Yes, we can have NEED without Kabuleta. But the thing is, because of the politics we've been having, individual merit. Remember, we went through how many? 20-something years, perhaps 20 years of individual merit. Okay? Where parties were demonized. Now, there were parties before which had outlasted the people who started them. Like DP, like UPC. Now, when Museveni came, he set out to destroy those parties. Now, those were parties which could have formed a foundation for other people who want to contest for power. Go through the party, so that if you come out as the president of DP, then you have the whole structure of DP. But he has spent all the years in power trying to destroy them. Then now, when you create other parties post individual merit, those parties are still going to have the DNA of individual merit, even though you are trying to create a party. But it is our intention to make sure that after a few years of NEED, it is entrenched enough for it to be stronger and more pronounced than whoever it is that might happen to lead it some stage from now, let's say 15 years from now.
What is that unique within its DNA that will make it different from other parties that have failed to achieve the same?
No, some of them have actually tried, because, but within very, very, very complicated surroundings. You know that. You go, you say, let's say you're FDC. Then you go and start trying to establish structures down in the villages. You try that and you see what the resistance that you come up against.
So what is NEED?
Because somebody...
How safe is NEED from that?
No, we're not safe, and we don't want to be safe. We are going to try to do it in spite of whatever difficulties there is. But then the thing is, what we do not want is armchair commentators like yourself to blame people, to sit down and blame people who have tried and have come against a lot of resistance because they have tried. And then you do not blame the people who are actually breaking the law in stopping a political party from establishing itself on the ground, because they have the right to do that by law. Now, you will not blame the people who are stopping them, but you will blame the parties. How come you did not do this? You've not done this. But do you know what they have tried to do? Do you know what obstacles they've run into? And do you know how they've put themselves at risk just trying to do things which in an ordinary country they should be in a position to go and do without any risk whatsoever, because they are just doing what is enshrined in their rights as a party. But you see, and a lot of people will not know what opposition parties go through. They just stand at the side and say, you should have done this. I mean, okay, yes, we should have done it. Do you know what we've tried to do? Do you know what we're up against? So, and why don't you talk to the person who is using all the institutions in government, the police, the military, the courts, the what, and everything, to stifle political opposition?
You see, when I meet a sheikh, I'll discuss Islam. Definitely, when I meet a pastor, we'll talk the Bible. I have a chance now to talk to an opposition politician. Definitely, I will ask what is appropriate with you.
Yes, and you are asking, and I'm telling you.
When I meet the sheikh, definitely I will ask him.
Yes. Now,
the very concerns that you have.
No, there is nothing wrong with what you've asked. What I'm telling you is that you should balance. Go and ask these people, why are you stopping political parties from establishing themselves, yet they have the right to do so?
But here is need establishing and getting stronger.
No, so far.
If I'm to take your word.
So far, but who knows what's coming ahead? Okay? Who has any guarantee on what's coming ahead? But we'll try, and we're going to do it. And we'll try regardless of the obstacles. And they will be there. There will be obstacles. That's what we tell you, that all the presidential candidates told you. We knew this was going to happen. We know what it is. I mean, Museveni is a very dirty competitor. He has never had a single competition. Even people who are, whatever, in university with him, said you cannot even play a game of cards and he's honest. He's a very dishonest man. It's in his DNA. So we know what you're up against. Even when he has all the aces, he will still try to come and destroy. So, but that does not stop us from trying. And not even trying, we are going to beat him at it. Yeah, because a thief has, what? 40 days.
We are going to take a break, but this is my last one in this first segment. Do you want Museveni out of power on issues, or you are angry with the man?
I told you Museveni is a very significant person. He's not worth being angry with. It's the office we want. Let him lose that title of president and we'll see if anybody will even care. Perhaps his family. Other than that, I don't think anybody else. We want the office. We're not interested in the man. Okay? Before he was president, until maybe before when he was killing people in Ruero, people were of interest because he was causing havoc, fighting a legitimately elected government. You see, using banditry. Now, his banditry took him to power. Now we want him out of power. After that, he can go and be anything. He can go and be the head of...
how do you want to get him out of power? Democratically, what means are you looking at as need?
We would wish democratically, but you remember what he said himself. Do you remember the excuse he gave for going to the bush? That if all democratic means of change of power have been closed, we have no choice. His words, not mine. You remember that? I can get you the clip.
So do you want to be his students as need?
No, the point is that that's him. That's him. Because he knew democratically he cannot take power. Even if there was a free and fair election, nobody was going to vote Museveni. And he tried that, he could not even be member of parliament. So, he had to do something else. Now, me, all I want is a free and fair election. If I fail in a free and fair election, fair game. I'm not going to the bush. All I want is a free and fair election, and I have a chance to convince people to vote for me. And if they vote somebody else, and he has beaten me fair and square, I'm going to go and sit down and maybe try my luck next time.